Hello, and welcome to what we think will be an explosive edition of the Grumpy Old Man Wrestling Podcast. Rick Crab here in the studio, sitting next to me, Chris Billito.
Hello.
Chris, we got a lot to talk about.
It won't be a dud.
Well, we better hope not. It'll probably smell better than the beginning of this episode sounded, I'm sure.
That after we had beans.
Yeah. We will talk about the thrill, victory, and agony and defeat of AEW Revolution. We'll also talk about Impact Sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about the usual events in Raw,
Smackdown,
NXT, Dynamite, all that good stuff. But first, before we get into any of that, there's a couple things. One thing I think we mentioned briefly last episode, and one I'm not sure if we mentioned it there or we just talked about it off the air. Last week was the passing of Mr. Jim Crockett Jr.,
yes.
Legendary promoter of the Carolina Territories, Mid-Atlantic NWA, eventually formed what we know as WCW after absorbing the Florida Territory and
UWF.
the UWF, too. I mean, a lot of people have a lot of memories about that company, especially in the 80s. I'm sure that's where a lot of yours are, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
What was your memories of any Jim Crockett NWA that you hold fondly?
When I started watching it in 85 is when the Horsemen formed. When they broke Dusty's leg. And that was one of the most confusing angles I ever saw in my life, but it worked.
Right.
It's when Dusty saved Flair from the Russians. Then all of a sudden the Andersons show up and attack Dusty, and Flair helped him. Remember that?
Yep.
I don't. Yeah, that was very confusing. But then again, it was Crockett Promotions. It didn't need to make sense.
No, and a lot of them were Dusty finishes. That's what they were very famous for, especially with basically everywhere Ric Flair went, he would put over whoever he was wrestling, and he made everybody in the building think that Ric Flair would lose. But he would find some technicality, either the referee was paid off, or he didn't look, or Maryland State Athletic Commission interfered one time on a pay-per-view here in Baltimore against Lex Luger.
I remember that, yes. Lou Levy himself came out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's probably my memory of Jim Crockett in the NWA, the fact that you had the territorial divide, but for some reason, Baltimore and Philadelphia was kind of like the neutral ground between there and WWF. Because WWF, they claimed basically what Nick Bockwinkel called the Northeastern Triangle.
Yeah.
Maine to Washington to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And us and Philly were in there.
We're in the Romulan neutral zone.
But Philly and Baltimore also had NWA. I remember them even having Chris Georgia Championship Wrestling, seeing like signs for them going to Blast and Skipjacks games.
Didn't they have a Great American Bash at Veterans Stadium?
They've had them. I'm sure they did. I know they've had several in our building.
It was Ricky Morton versus Ric Flair in that building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they've also had several Crockett Cups here in Baltimore as well.
Yeah, Crockett Cup was in the Superdome, the first one.
Right.
Yeah. He was a good promoter. He was Vince's biggest rival at the time, before Ted Turner just bought out the company. Mm-hmm. And then Turner and Vince became Turner and Vince. He put on great shows. I pretty much went to every house show when they came around.
Pretty much NWA started jumping the shark a little bit when Turner bought him out. Mm-hmm. And then during the Monday Night War era, oh boy, yeah.
NWO.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, then they went from being the New World Order to now we're older, but anyway.
Yeah, well, that was all Bischoff, and that's another kettle of fish.
Another memory I have of that era that's happened locally, Ron Simmons won the WCW belt here. And it was back in the day, folks, it seemed like they never had any title changes in Baltimore. Prior to that, I think they only had like 2 of any company. It was
a house show, wasn't it?
No, that was a pay-per-view.
It was a pay-per-view? No.
It was either a Bash or a Crockett Cup, I forget. But, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think he beat Vader during that. But, I mean, prior to that, the only title changes I remember was Bruno losing to Superstar Billy Graham, and Tito Santana losing to
Greg Valentine.
No.
Greg Valentine?
No, Tito Santana, he defeated Morocco.
Morocco, yeah. Didn't Morocco destroy the belt here?
I think he did, as a matter of fact. But
you mentioned the 88 Great American Bash. I was at that show. And I remember, was it Barry Windham who turned on Dusty?
Right.
At that show. Became a horseman. I think he became a horseman. I remember it was Ronnie Garvin who turned on that, because Ronnie Garvin left as a heel when he went to WWE.
Was that the year that Flair left and brought the...
That was 91.
Right. He brought the pixelated world championship to WWE. Yeah.
And I found out what tag title they used. I mean, what belt they used for the Luger Barry Windham cage match here. It was the old the NWA tag title. They put a plate over it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, we were both fans of the Crockett era back then, because we both probably turned up by the land of the big guy of the Hulk Hogan era. Because you actually had guys who could wrestle instead of look good.
Yeah. Well, few interesting things about, like, when I was watching during that era. I'll mention that, but actually there was one thing I had heard from Cornette that I found interesting. He's of the opinion he didn't think that he should have went to war with Vince. He thinks if he would have kept his territories, he'd probably still be in business. He'd probably
work with Graham, the Von Erichs, and Watts.
Right.
Yeah, and I remember they did joint shows here in Maryland with the AWA.
Yeah, the Pro Wrestling USA tour.
Yeah,
I remember that.
That's when Crockett and Verne were very tight with each other.
Yeah, because I remember that tour. They also were in the Meadowlands, and in fact, I think Stan Hansen beat Rick Martel for the AWA title during that. Yeah,
and I remember going to those shows and seeing the AWA at the shows. I was like, outside of Minnesota, nobody knew who they were.
Right. In fact, I think there was one match, I remember Jerry Lawler actually talking about it. They had the Road Warriors from the AWA, and I think Jerry Lawler and I think Austin Idol, they wrestled against the Road Warriors here.
In an AWA show.
Correct.
Okay.
I think there was an AWA title.
Back then, that's when all the handshake agreements and all that, and before Vince just gobbled up everything.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay.
Like it says, rest in peace, Jim Crockett, man.
The other thing was, I saw this looking at another article on Chris Jericho's website, Web is Jericho. They had a graphic on the very bottom of the site, basically listing the year, the birth year and the death year of Axl Rotten, and commemorating the 5th anniversary of his death. Wow, Chris. I mean,
we both knew Brian real well, and that's his real name. Remember when we came home from Raw that one night, we ran into him at Royal Farms?
Yeah, he was
getting stuff for his grandmother.
Right.
And he lived with his grandmother. Nice guy. I got drunk with him one night at an MEWF show.
Oh, gosh.
I kept up drinking with him. Do you want to tell him about the night I got sucked into the ring? And was it MEWF or MCW during the when we had the petition?
Yeah, I think it was MCW.
You want to talk about the petition?
Yeah, basically, we were even worse marks than we are now, okay? We mentioned the Maryland State Athletic Commission. They have a very strict athletic commission, so much so they would not let ECW or any hardcore promotions come to Maryland or do any hardcore matches. In fact...
No blood, no swearing.
Yeah. And if anyone bled the hard way, which means, not intentionally, they had to leave the ring, they had to stop the match, they had to do everything. I mean...
Like Lex Luger.
Yeah. And, I remember, I think it might have been that same night, Chris, where they had a cage match between New Jack, Axel, Corporal Punishment, and Sandman. And one of them, I forget, either Axel or New Jack was bleeding, and it was like a paper cut bleed. They had to leave. They did a thing where they had to leave the cage and pretend to brawl out onto Urban Avenue because they didn't want to get caught for the athletic commission. So
we had a petition. We know guys in the back, and it went to Axel. Axel called one of us. Called me into the ring.
Right.
And I don't know if it's on YouTube or.
Well, what happened? He said, "I want to talk to the person who brought this," and well.
We drew straws almost. And
I had written it and you sent it out actually, but
and he read it, and I remember looking directly at Lou Levy on the thing, and I said, "Fuck you."
Yeah.
And he said, and I remember Axel saying, "That's from the fans."
Right.
Well, Axel had a mutual friend of ours, Dutch.
You're right.
And that's how I met Axel. We were at the club we used to hang out back in the late 80s, early 90s. Axel showed up and actually palled around with us.
Yeah.
And like I said, Brian was a real nice guy. Too bad his demons got a hold of him.
His demons got a hold of him, but I mean, not just what he contributed locally. I mean,
The Taipei Death Match and the Barbed Wire Bat Match.
Right, yeah, that's probably what he's most famous for in ECW. He helped. I mean, you hear with ECW about, like, Dreamer and Sandman and Sabu and Terry Funk and those people getting that company on the map, but I think Axel deserves a lot of credit for that as well.
Remember, he was in WCW before he joined ECW.
Right, he was in Global, I remember that, who was Axel in who he feuded with, and he also had a lot of FMW and IWA wing death matches as well,
and he
too.
teamed up with the late Balls Mahoney, which we affectionately called them Rotten Balls.
Yeah.
But the Chair Swinging Freaks. And they even worked One Night Stand for the WWE ECW. Mm-hmm. Which they just basically came out and just swung chairs and hit everybody in the head.
Right.
Like I said, I have no... Danny McDevitt wrote a thing about the difference between Axel Rotten, the character, and Brian Knighton, the man.
Right.
And it was a brilliant piece. I don't want to get into it too much because he did kind of slam the drug abuse thing.
Yeah.
Back then it was a growing problem with drugs and overdoses because of Crash Holly.
Right.
Kurt Hennig. And the list goes on and on. Nowadays, even when Taker said everybody's soft nowadays, and there's nobody soft. Because, they're all playing video games. They're relaxing. They're not taking drugs. They're not going out partying anymore.
Well, I think he also meant, too, that not just the partying, but what happened, a lot of guys, when they rode to towns, they would be talking to each other about businesses, and, like, younger wrestlers would be kind of mentoring, the older wrestlers, rather, would be mentoring the younger wrestlers, giving them advice as far as what to do during spots and stuff. So,
well, Axel, from what I heard, Axel was doing that at the MCW dojo Bonebreakers back then.
Right.
And it's like he was one of the head trainers with the late Bruiser.
Yeah, I remember prior to that when they were in MEWF and they had the matches and the schools at Bingo Bill's.
Yes.
And I remember one time, I used to live not too far from there, if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I used to go to a restaurant that was in a parking lot where Bingo Bill's was.
Was that the karaoke place?
The karaoke place, yes. Well, I remember going to the parking lot, and I remember seeing that the inside was lit. You could see what Bingo Bill's was, folks. It was an old supermarket that was used kind of like as a bingo hall, kind of like the ECW arena. But they still had the supermarket windows so you could see into everything. And what I saw was Hack Myers was one of the trainers. And he was taking this kid who was about 100 pounds, dripping wet, and repeatedly Irish whipping him into a corner, from one corner to the other, just so that this kid's back kept hitting the turnbuckles. And, it looked painful as hell, Chris.
Well, that's what they. From what I heard, when you go to these schools, they beat the living shit out of you at first thing just to see what you're made of. For real. Just for real, just to see what you're made of. Mm-hmm. And I heard Adam Cole, when he was doing the CZW JoJo, they held his hands up and they kept on chopping him in the chest to see what he's made of.
Jeez, it was.
Yeah. Well, he took chops. He took chops from, like, John Dahmer, DJ, some of the other trainers there. Mm.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned about his grandmother, because Ed plays into a major story in ECW you may have seen on the Dark Side of the Ring. The mass transit incident. If you remember...
That's right, he was part of it. He was New Jack's partner.
He was New Jack's partner. Axel couldn't make it and New Jack admitted it was because Axel's grandmother was either... I don't know if she passed away then or she was just in bad health on her way, but regardless, he did not attend, and in his place, he had...
This 19-year-old kid, not even 18, he lied about his age.
Right.
It's like a 17-year-old kid.
He had a gimmick called Mass Transit where he looked and dressed like Ralph Cramden of the Honeymooners.
Yeah.
And New Jack kind of took liberties with the boy and basically, I don't know, almost did a lobotomy on the kid. He carved him into his head so deep.
New Jack, if you watch the Dark Side, New Jack was not apologetic at all. Not.
Speaking of New Jack, I actually have a news item, though, because I was going to transition into AEW Revolution. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But did you hear that there's a possibility he may be coming to AEW?
That was a rumor I heard about 4 days ago.
Yes.
Yeah, and even they're saying, fuck no.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, I mean, some of the wrestlers there, I'm sure, were like, yeah.
Now, after watching Darkseid, knowing how he's crazy, no.
I mean, not only that, but for his own health, it might not be good. I mean, supposedly he's blind in one eye. He has blackouts. He's even said...
Cracked skull.
Cracked skull, he said in a shoot interview, his memory is like 2 days behind.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he could box, he could hurt somebody and himself doing...
Or if somebody hurts him unintentionally, he'll try to kill the motherfucker.
Right, yeah. He will. Okay, so...
Speaking of AEW...
Yes. We have their last pay-per-view, Revolution.
Which ended like a bad fart, as you heard.
Yeah, it caused people to have revolutions in their stomachs and eventually go to the bathroom, but... It's a shame because...
It was a great card until the end.
Right. And even the match where the botch occurred, that was a good match up until that happened. Few things with that, I will say. Okay, I mean, you had that great ladder match for the contender for the TNT title. You had the women's match, which was terrific.
With the debut of Ethan Page, congratulations, you moved up a level.
I was disappointed in this, MJF and Jericho versus the Young Bucks, and...
I know how much you hate the Bucks, but it was building towards the implosion.
It served well for that, and we'll get to that later, but, I mean, it's... That match, I mean, it's just basically watching a Shawn Michaels highlight video, or, you know, or an Etsy version of Shawn Michaels highlight.
And you saw a lot of knee slapping.
Yep.
Because you know Vince's edict now.
Right, and that's probably... And that's the thing with I don't like about the Young Bucks. It's like, they've had veterans trying to give them advice, and a lot of times they're just the opinion, it kind of remind me of George Costanza in a way, where there's one episode of Seinfeld where it was like, he decided, okay, whatever I feel I have an instinct to do, I'm going to do the opposite.
Yeah.
And that's what the Young Bucks do. It's like, they even say in their book where they're looking at their cocks on the cover, you know, they say that they want to do the opposite of what promoters have told them to do. You know?
Yeah, well, when Cornette was working TNA at the time, and that's when the Bucks were Generation Me, there was the friction between those two started there, I think.
Well, he said part of it was there and at Ring of Honor. He said basically, number one, they had too many riders, and so the fact they had to fly them out from California, and then just the way they went into business with themselves with their matches. So, you know.
Well, they're money-making machines because their merch is selling like you wouldn't fucking believe.
Well, it's not Bad Bunny money, but yeah, it's...
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so we had all of those, and then we had the stupid thing. We had the stupid mid-card match with Miro versus
I actually went out and made dinner during that match.
Yeah.
I didn't care. From what all reports were, it was like they said Miro looked like $1 million in this. And
he did. He basically. I mean, it started off with a backstage promo with Chuck Taylor, and then Miro basically threw him through a window and. He said, start my music now. And then he started the match and all that stuff. And, you know.
That's when I went downstairs to make dinner. So I was like.
And Pockets tried to make a comeback with his
Orange Punch, yeah.
Yeah, the wine punch juice box, But then Miro tried to break his back and make him humble with the game over iron,
Miro smash.
Yeah. So.
I agree with everybody. Push this guy as singles. Push this guy as singles. Even though they're punishing his wife left and right in WWE, push him as singles.
I think that's what the game plan is. And I'm kind of surprised that they've been sticking Pockets in with this, because I thought they were going to give him a push after that stupid Mimosa match against Jericho, so...
Well, that was just a feud, just for a feud's sake, I think. Just give them both to do.
Right. And then you have the women's match between Riho Sr., I still can't pronounce her last name. I apologize. Against Sheeta and...
Excellent match, by the way.
Yes, it was.
Even though I hated the ending with Vicky Guerrero. What was it? Vicky, Britt Baker, everybody's favorite cutest wrestler, Maki Ito.
Well, that was in the show afterwards.
Yeah, it was on the show afterwards. Okay. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, and we'll get to that.
Yeah, I want to talk about the pre-show about that too, because
All right, yeah, go ahead. Mention the pre-show.
The tag match was supposed to be Thunder Rosa and Little Rio was supposed to be Rebel and Britt Baker.
Right.
They did an injury angle with Rebel. She's on a crutch. And the doctor's note was written on Britt Baker's letterhead.
Oh, God.
Yes. So I heard that. I was like, oh, my God, that's hilarious. She says, well, I am a licensed doctor. Yeah, a dentist.
Right.
So they shipped in Maki Ito from one of the Yoshi promotions. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing that gets me. What they said on the pre-show was she just worked a Yoshi show 44 hours before she came to America. Where was the 2-week quarantine?
Right.
Yeah, where's the 2-week quarantine? That made me think it was like maybe Tony Khan had some backdoor people?
Well, I'm not sure how that works because I think going into Japan you need a quarantine. But if they come here, it might be less.
From what I'm hearing, it's universal all over the place. You got to be quarantined for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because this is how Finn Juice was able to do Sacrifice last night because that was a tape show and well advanced. And they're in the New Japan Cup now, being live in Japan.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how that works. Well, maybe, they do own NFL and Premier League. Maybe they had access to some quick testing. Who knows?
I love Maki Ito's gimmick where she's just a foul-mouthed bitch.
Well, we'll get to that. There's some things I want to talk to you about it, but when we get to Dynamite, the follow-up to that. All right. Now, this is what people were talking about with this show. The
dud.
Yeah. The barbed wire exploding popcorn part. Yeah.
Now I'm hungry.
So, I don't know. I kind of called it. I thought it was going to be a weak explosion, but I didn't think it was going to be that bad. Because I remember seeing some of the FMW matches where they've had the explosions, and there was one where I saw Terry Funk, he's laying in the ring, he's looking around like, that was it?
Yep.
I'm pretending to be dead, and this is what happens. You pig! Pig!
You son of a bitch!
Yeah, but this was,
It's...
Yeah, it got to the point where AEW is actually going after people who had fan cams of parts of the card and the match, and they are telling people to cease and desist. Well,
because they're getting bad press about it. They're tired of getting the bad press. And once it's on the internet, it's on there forever.
And they deserve to. Here's the thing. You're promising something that crazy and outlandish, okay? You got to deliver to some extent. I've heard several YouTubers say different things. They could have just added a few more pyro underneath the ring. They could have done a thing where they had the ring buckle or something. There are a lot of ways they could have done it.
Yeah, and like I said to you earlier, I was like, what do you think Onita was saying when he was watching this? He was the one promoting this.
Right.
And it's a wonder that man could still walk, by the way.
Yeah.
Because they showed old footage from the 90s of him doing these matches. And from what I'm hearing, he has restarted FMW in Japan.
Yeah.
And if he's doing that crazy shit again, maybe I remind you what happened to Hayabusa.
Yeah.
But anybody that doesn't know about this, Hayabusa was a high-flyer wrestler. Did in one spot he was supposed to do the lion salt, and he landed wrong. He landed in his head and broke his neck.
Yeah.
He was in a wheelchair the rest of his life. He just passed away a couple of years ago. Matter of fact,
I think so.
Yeah. He was this guy was the next Sabu, basically.
And honestly, when I first saw him a few times, I thought maybe it was Sabu in a mask gimmick.
Yeah.
Because he wore the same types of outfits, except he had the
mask.
He had the Mortal Kombat mask, and he had, the makeup over his eyes. But, yeah.
But I remember that match. I forgot what ECW pay-per-view it was, but it was Hayabusa and Masato Tanaka versus RVD and Sabu.
Yeah.
That was like a dream match.
It was.
Yeah. But going back to Revolution, I agree with a lot of people. It was a great pay-per-view until the dud.
Right.
I agree with you about the women's tag match. The women's match. The tag match, even though you don't like the Bucks, it was a good match. The ladder match was probably the standout match of the night.
Well, another thing I want to mention about that the exploding match, though, which I didn't, and a lot of people have said this, and I'll agree with them. You have all of that stuff going on with the exploding barbed wire, the exploding bats, and and everything else. Why did the Good Brothers have to come in? You don't need extra interference.
Because they're the Bullet Club. They're the fake Bullet Club that Tama Tonga tells us saying on Twitter. And we'll get to them on my Sacrifice review.
Right. Yeah.
But Kingston. Kingston. I'm liking Kingston more and more. I'm still loving Kingston more and more. He's always been a good pro. He's been a great promo man. He would talk you into buying a car that you don't need. He would talk. He would sell igloos to Eskimos, I think.
Right.
Successfully with air conditioning.
Yeah, and when we get to Dynamite this week, pretty much his promo basically took AEW that was boiling in a French fry fryer and fried it out with his bare hands and got him
Pretty
out.
much, yeah.
I mean, God bless Eddie Kingston, man.
He's the promo machine. Like I said, I'm not a fan of his in-ring work because he's more of a brawler type guy. He's not. He's more one-dimensional. He's not a hybrid guy like a Sammy Callahan.
If AEW doesn't have a school, or like some of these wrestlers do, like QT Marshall, if Kingston's not hired for like promo class, I don't know who else you're gonna get. Man.
I was watching Being Elite one time, and they made fun of the Vince promo class, and they had Kingston talking to a chocolate chip cookie, and it was hilarious. He says, "You're the most beautiful, wonderful chocolate chip cookie I've ever seen in my life."
Yeah, and even WWE has shown on some of their videos as far as audition tapes. I mean, I remember seeing one about Eric Bischoff, and they actually showed his audition for WWE where he had to put over a broom.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
But what else can we say about Dynamite other than Revolution going? Look, moving forward, they have to move forward right now.
That card kind of and I don't know, it was reactionary because, I mean, the other matches were good, but it almost reminded me of a house show that a mutual friend of ours, me and Jeff, won from, if you remember back in the day when we were talking to that local radio station doing the talk.
Yes.
We won tickets to a WCW house show.
Oh, boy.
And the tickets were free. We didn't pay anything for them. That show was so horrible, we were like, dude, we've got to go to the box office to ask for our money back. That was bad. I mean, put it this way, the highlight for us was when Scott Hall came in the ring and we got a Betty Ford chant going, but it was...
Was that me and you? Or was it you and Jeff? Because
that was me and Jeff. We may have done that in another card.
Me and you went to a WCW show and we said everything that wasn't NWO was great.
Yeah.
And we were chanting, "Just say no."
Yeah.
And we had children around us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We were the grumpy old man.
Yeah, we were. We were.
But, other than that, I have nothing to say about Revolution.
Yeah.
There's nothing else left to say about Revolution, which hasn't been said already.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of people probably had a bad taste in their mouth because of the match. They probably felt like they had a good dinner up to that point, and then my cat Raven came and took a crap in it. But,
that's what your dog also missed in it too.
Yeah.
Yes, you want to move on to Sacrifice.
Please do.
I did watch it this morning. Not a bad show. It's like a 2-hour, 45-minute version of Impact.
Okay, and there were a couple of surprises in that card.
Yeah, I'm going to go for the match rundown because I got it right down here.
Mm-hmm.
Decay beat Reno Scum. Those who don't know about Reno Scum, Eric Thornstone, during the beginning of this pandemic, did a video. He's a first responder. He's front line.
Mm-hmm.
He works in one of the hospitals.
Right.
More power to the man. I respect the man for doing that.
Right.
Reno Scum, they're putting guys over. They're just basically an overgrown job team right now.
Yeah.
Against Decay, which is Crazy Steve and Black Taurus. Give this man the X Division title now. This man is fucking amazing. I don't know if it's the real Taurus from AAA or it's another guy they got from one of the schools, from either Scott D'Amore School or Trey Miguel School, but this guy's incredible. I give that match maybe 2.5 stars.
All right.
Then we get Havoc and Nevaeh versus Tenille Dashwood, who was Emma, and Caleb Connolly with a K.
Right.
I did not understand the booking of this match whatsoever because you had 3 women and a man in the match. Can you explain that shit to me?
I don't know, AEW for what? No.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going there. No, I don't know. I've talked to you before. I've been scratching my head with some of the storylines and booking with that company, so that's...
Well, the way they were building up to this match is that they were trying to get Havoc away from Nevaeh and join Team Tenille.
Right.
Because, I will say this again, Havoc's the best big woman in the business, and she's the monster that everybody needs.
So were they trying to make Havoc the captain of Team Tenille?
Yeah. Nevaeh ate the pin, and Havoc was there to console her, and that's all it was after that.
Okay.
Then we had Violent by Design, which was Diener and Joe Doring, who's from Japan, by the way. He was their Triple Crown champion over there. He's a big cowboy, big Texan, wears a fur coat to the ring. Against Chris Sabin and Sorry About Your Damn Luck, Cowboy James Storm.
Mm-hmm.
The match ended with Rhino showing up, turning heel, goring Sabin. No, he gored Storm, and Violent by Design got the pin, and he joined Violent by Design. Mm. So Rhino's a heel again. How many times did you see flip-flopped? Just like Big Show.
Yeah. Well, pretty close to it.
Then we had Eddie Edwards versus Brian Myers. People who know Brian Myers as Kurt Hawkins in the WWE.
Right.
In a holds harmless match, which basically when it was described to Brian Myers in Scott D'Amore's office last Tuesday, he's just like, "Oh yeah, this is a submission match, right? I'll do it. And he says, D'Amore says, "No, you just agreed to a no DQ match."
Oh boy.
And it's on. You're gonna watch the show probably later tonight.
Yeah.
They showed the clip of D'Amore saying, "We're going to do an eye for an eye match." Don't be ridiculous. Who ever thought of that idea? I was like, I laughed my ass off when he said that.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. It was hilarious.
That's for shit, pal.
It was basically tables and trash cans. And Eddie Edwards trying to be the next Sandman. And a kendo stick.
Ah, okay.
Which he named Kenny.
Mm.
Yeah. Because at one time, they had Eddie Edwards going crazy after the whole botched eyeball thing with Sami Callihan in the bat.
My eye, bitch.
Yeah, my eye, bitch, yeah. Edwards won. Again, it was an overglorified hardcore match. This one, Jordan Grace and Jazz, who, by the way, Jazz looks like she just got off of work for him with that outfit she's wearing. I don't understand that. Is she wearing that in that new promotion, too?
Yes.
Why?
You want to ask her?
I wouldn't, no, because we saw her in ECW beating up men.
Right, and her husband looks like he could probably pull us into accordions too.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Against Fire and Flavor. You've seen Tasha Steelz in NWA. I'm not a fan of ring work.
Yeah.
Kiera Hogan. Cute. About that. Not a fan of ring work, but they're promoting them, and they kept the tag titles, by the way, over Jordan Grace and Jazz, who would be great champions, by the way.
And that's actually, I mentioned there's 2 surprises with that card. I'll add that as a third.
Yeah, and like I said, you'll probably watch the match yourself. Yeah. TJP, here's one of the surprises. TJP, who, not saying what's going on, has heat all around him right now.
Right.
Lost the X Division title to, now they're calling him the inevitable Ace Austin.
Okay.
Ace Austin now has Madman Fulton in his corner. The big hoss. It was a good X Division match. Very ground based. It wasn't like the X Division matches we're accustomed to.
Right.
It was very ground based. It was a pretty good match. Then we had a Swingers Palace segment in it, and I know how me and you just don't like these things.
Yeah.
It built up to Tenille Dashwood against Eddie Edwards' wife for a match for Tuesday night. Which, like I said, they just did a bulk of tapings along with this, so what we're seeing has been taped weeks ago.
Right, okay.
Then we had Deanna Purrazzo versus ODB, Deanna defending the Knockouts title. ODB is doing the veteran thing and putting the younger talent over.
Right.
She won by pinfall. She didn't tap her out or anything. She didn't do the armbar. She won by pinfall. And the interesting part was the referee got Purrazzo's entourage of Kimberly and Susan, which you'll see Sue Young's third identity is Susan.
Oh, yeah. people have already.
Yeah, and it's them making fun of Karen. The Karens out there.
Yeah.
Because she's dressed in a conservative pantsuit now. She's wearing glasses. It's almost, she's trying to do the Three Faces of Foley type thing now.
Yeah.
Good match. Good match. This is the one you were wanting to talk about. Finn Juice and Good Brothers. I thought the Good Brothers were going to walk away out of this. You thought the Good Brothers were going to walk away out of this. We have new tag team champions in Impact.
Which is going to make things also interesting with their interpromotional thing with AEW. So.
Yes, because I told you this was taped well in advance. Finn Juice is now in New Japan doing the New Japan Cup as individuals. Juice Robinson and David Finlay. I think they're both advancing as we speak. Mm-hmm. If you watch the New Japan shows I gave you, you probably watch those.
Yeah.
And they did it with a Doomsday device.
Oh, okay.
Because they're basically playing tributes to all the teams before them. They did a Heart Attack on Impact not too long ago. They're doing a Doomsday device. What else can you think of? I think they did Power and Glory's finisher with the superplex and the splash. Yeah. And they even did Juice Robinson's one of his finishers where he does 3 right jabs and he does the left punch, which he calls it the left hand of God. Which they did not say that, but they'll say it in the New Japan shows.
Right.
Good match. I'm not a big fan of the Good Brothers. Luke Gallows is a big guy. That's it. I don't think he's a good worker.
I think I'm more of a fan of them than you. I liked when they were in WWE. They had that nerds thing that used to crack me up.
And beat up John Cena. Yeah. Oh, they do that. They're doing a whole beat up everybody on Impact now.
Right.
Now that there are no belts, or I don't know if they'll have a rematch at Rebellion in next month, or they're just going to go straight for the AEW.
Yeah, because I forgot who it was, but supposedly there was an AEW team that had a shot at their belt.
That was Private Party, and that was at the last streaming special.
Oh,
this was a streaming special. If you have the Impact Plus, this was not a traditional pay-per-view last night. But I'm glad Finn Juice has won it, and maybe, I don't know, they don't have teams there. The Machine Guns are broken up because Alex Shelley's on the shelf.
Right.
You got Shelley, and you got Sabin and Storm. You got Reno Scum. You got Triple XL, which I don't consider them contenders. You got Violent by Design. You got factions there, but no solid tag teams there.
Now, let me ask you this about Finn Juice. You said that this Sacrifice was taped and they're in Japan.
Yes.
Wrestling as we were recording this.
Yes.
Did you see them bring the Impact belts with them?
Not per se. Like I said, I skimmed through a lot of it because there's like 5 shows per week you have to go through.
Okay, now do you have English commentary? Or is it
mostly in Japanese, but you can basically know what you're saying right there. Like we used to watch too on the old VHS tapes.
Right.
Like I said, one of the commentators is Jushin Liger. You can tell it's Jushin Liger when he talks like this. Because he sounds like he's a chain smoker.
Yeah.
Very raspy voice.
Japanese version of People Power or what?
Yeah, kind of like... we'll get to that in a little bit, too. Yeah,
Oh, I forgot about that. I didn't make a note about that, but we'll do that.
Then the other surprise which got us was Rich Swann retaining over Moose. And Moose went to Twitter after he lost the TNA belt last night to Rich Swann, which now he's the unified champion, is Moose is going to be going away for a little while. He's taking some time off. That's why he dropped the belt.
Oh, no shit.
We don't know.
It seemed like they were pushing him out. They were getting ready to strap the rock.
He's, quote, air quotes, Mr. Impact. Because would you rather see... We know what the Rebellion main event's going to be. The winner of this match was supposed to face Omega in the title unification, which Omega's the belt collector.
Yeah.
So, but would you rather see him again? I asked you this last time. Against Moose or against Rich Swann?
Probably it'd be a better match as far as the styles that are more compatible. Probably with Swann. Moose, I would personally prefer to see Moose make Omega into
Prince.
Right.
But
Omega into an alpha.
I saw Moose do shit I never saw a big guy do. He ran to the corner, skipped over the first turnbuckle, ran up the second turnbuckle, the third turnbuckle, and did a moonsault.
Right.
How many big guys who are 6'5" and almost 300 pounds can do that?
Headhunter A, Headhunter B, maybe.
Bigelow?
Yeah.
Back
not
in the
many.
day,
That's for
not many.
Donald.
Nowadays, I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Because most of the big guys you see nowadays are ground-based.
Well, plus how many guys are above like 200 pounds nowadays, too?
True, because look at what the WWE's pushing. Unless you're Bobby Lashley or Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, everybody else is a smaller guy.
Yeah. I mean, in AEW, Nyla Rose could probably beat the whole Dork Order all at once.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or and devour the entire knockout division, except for Havoc.
Yeah.
That's a hoss fight I would like to see. Nyla Rose versus Jessica Havoc.
That would be interesting to see.
Overall, I give the special last night a 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5. I thought it was all right. It was a setup for the pay-per-view. And what we're going to see this Tuesday night is we're going to see Tennille Dashwood versus Ashley Edwards. That's the only match they announced so far.
All right.
Now, do you want to talk about John Laurinaitis now or later?
We can mention him now since we're going to Raw, but yeah, mention him now. Sure,
WWE rehired John Laurinaitis as head of talent relations. A lot of people in the back are worried about this because the Divas thing might be coming back, which we got away from, and we're glad we got away from it because it's the evolution, it's the revolution. He has very dated ideas. Nobody really wanted to work with Laurinaitis. They liked the guy. The guy that they're working with, and I do watch Total Divas, the guy they talked to, I think it's the talent relation guy, they said he was a good guy, but they didn't really trust him.
Yeah.
Laurinaitis, we saw what Laurinaitis was capable of as talent relations guy, and we saw women there who didn't belong in the ring.
Yeah.
Mostly you saw them in strip joints and bring them in. Or certain adult videos. Look at you, Candice Michelle.
We've gone to several shows in Philadelphia. There's some merits to that type of entertainment.
Yeah.
But anyway, I agree with you.
But look at Kelly Kelly. Shouldn't belong in the ring. And that was the Laurinaitis. Candice Michelle. Shouldn't belong in the ring. That was Laurinaitis. Even Trish. Well, Trish came onto her own.
Yeah.
Trish came onto her own. But I see them going backward in time.
Yeah. Well, consider the source. Laurinaitis is probably one of the proud members of the Kiss My Ass Club.
He's a yes guy.
Yeah.
Remember the famous pipe bomb? He mentioned Laurinaitis in the pipe bomb, saying he's one of the yes men. Mm-hmm. And we'll get the Punk later.
Yeah.
But it's a wait and see for me to see if there's any changes.
It's a wait and see because Laurinaitis hasn't done anything to...
Yeah, he just got rehired this week.
He isn't the latest hurt in the WWE Punch Bowl.
Yeah, well, there's a 75-year-old one there, and it won't go away.
All right, depends.
Yeah, that's what he's on at right now.
All right.
And from what I'm hearing, he's been doing less and less show-ups for SmackDown, and I think he's not showing up for Raw that much. He's been doing Zoom meetings. Because he is 75, he's high risk.
Right.
Now you want to talk about Raw. Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Well...
Oh, boy.
Well, thankfully...
I didn't make notes during this because I didn't care.
No. That's pretty much my sentiment, too. Pretty much you had Lashley successfully defending...
Against The Miz.
Thank God. And... What I don't like about this is that they're burying McIntyre and keeping him in this quagmire feud with Sheamus. Even though those two have been having some good matches, and actually they're among the few highlights of Raw.
Well, when we were by our buddy John's house 2 weeks ago, we said that match that opened up with Sheamus and McIntyre was fucking fantastic.
Well, this one was too.
Until the screw job ending.
Yeah.
It's a no DQ match. Was it no countouts too?
No, it was basically no DQ, and it ended with each wrestler hitting each other with a pair of the steel steps. Okay.
Tinfoil steps, more like it.
Well, I'm sure they hurt, but
And they both got hit in the head.
Yeah.
And the quote-unquote medical trainers came out and checked on Sheamus. Did they check on McIntyre at all?
Eventually they did. It came later, though.
Yeah, he was missing on the side of a milk carton somewhere.
Yeah.
But because he went over the barricade.
Yep, he went right into the Walmart electronics section.
What I'm hearing in Fastlane, they're going to have a match between the two. It's going to be a number one contenders match, and the winner faces Bobby Lashley at Mania, which we know is going to be McIntyre.
Right.
Then again, they've thrown us curveballs before.
Well, yeah, and that's something else I want to get into. I don't know. You want to talk about WrestleMania now, or you want?
We will wait for
we'll do that later
after we do our Raw thing.
All right, and then other than that, it's like
more hocus pocus bullshit with Alexa and Randy.
Yeah,
because we saw Randy. Okay, is AJ a heel, or is he a tweener?
I don't think he's changed really. It was just they were
two heels going at it at once.
Yeah, which is dumb because they have so many people that they haven't used. I mean, so many.
Especially one guy who's asked for his release.
Yeah, I mean, you have a certain Raw Women's Champion who
now out with concussion from what I'm hearing.
Oh, geez,
so she might not even make it for Mania.
From the concussion from the kick?
I think from the kick.
Oh man.
And if I was Shayna, I would feel so bad right now.
I'm sure she does. Honestly,
like I said, off camera, from what I heard, when the camera wasn't on her, you saw Shayna checking on her.
Yeah,
because she was concerned. Shayna was concerned.
Because she's not like most girls, like
Nia.
You're right.
Yeah, if that was Nia Jax, they'd be praising her, not firing her again.
Yeah, she uses that as her gimmick.
My whole. Yeah. But Asuka's not going to be on for a while. We got an overdose of Reginald on Raw now.
And what are they going to do with Charlotte now? Because they were supposed to put her with
Asuka,
and then before that, Lacey Evans.
Yeah, well, if you saw the promo backstage, it was with Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose. It looks like we might get a three-way for number one contenders.
Well, outside of wrestling, that would probably be awesome, but for wrestling, that's an exploding popcorn part.
Yeah, because as much as Charlotte Flair has been shoved down our throats, she's still probably the best female worker in that company right now.
I tell you what, though, I mean, I don't think Andrade minds, and Steve Austin didn't seem to mind either. That was, actually, did you watch that? Straight up Steve Austin, that show afterwards?
No, I didn't.
It was actually pretty good.
They talk about Andrade?
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically that he was teaching her Spanish, and it was something else he mentioned about him that was really positive too, but, yeah.
But, like I said, and speaking about Andrade, we haven't seen him on Raw since after the draft in October when he lost to Angel Garza.
Right.
They haven't used him. He's at catering. Like, the joke is, he's at catering. They're using his fiancée more. He asked for his release. They denied him his release. He removed all WWE references from his Twitter account. All of it.
Right.
He wants out desperately because they're not using him. And this is a man who is a U.S. champion and NXT champion. Is he still getting punished because of Selena Vega, like Aleister Black is?
It could be. I think it's more so, not so much a punishment. I think they are worried about pissing off Charlotte.
If he leaves, she'll want to leave. You know that.
Right.
And if he shows up at, say, AEW or going back to Triple A, she'll go with him.
And she would be great in their women's division. I mean, a lot of people probably would be tired. It's like, oh, no, you're going to push her in that company. I mean, this is what I don't like about indie fans, especially on the wrestling. I mean, it's like people keep talking crap about, like, with Christian, coming over. And that's one thing we got down on the pay-per-view.
Did you like his shirt?
Yeah.
Outwork everyone.
Yeah. I mean, okay. But, I mean, the whole thing is, like, they're saying, oh, great, now AEW's getting all of WWE's trash heap. And I'll admit I said stuff similar to that with Impact.
Circa 1990s WCW?
But you should be excited about certain wrestlers going from one company to another just to see them fighting different people.
Yeah, because we're tired of the same goddamn bullshit we're seeing on Raw. We're going to get New Day and Hurt Business again. Because there's no teams there. Vince doesn't believe in tag teams. He hates tag teams.
And, good God, you had the Hurt Business please don't screw them up. I know you're going to WWE eventually, but please.
They can't help it. They
can't help themselves. You're right.
And, oh, by the way, speaking of Raw, did you know the overabundance of pyro they were doing Monday night?
You told me. I didn't notice it then, but you and I talked about this.
Yes.
Yeah,
just to rub it in AEW's face a little bit, saying, hey, this is how you're supposed to do it.
Yeah. And I'm sure Vince can get access to Blazing Saddles for the sound effects.
Yes, he's probably watching that with a hard on.
Yeah.
What'd you think of Lashley's new intro? With the graph, it was a variation of the Hurt Business and the lightning bolts, and it was like the Undertaker showing up.
Whatever.
The Almighty Era.
Lashley's talented enough that you could just be kind of like a 70s Black Sabbath concert where it'll be dark and he'll walk out and people still
go lose their shit.
Yeah, exactly. Dude's amazing. I mean, he's a. I mean, I like Drew McIntyre, and I wouldn't be disappointed if they actually gave him the back, but I kind of hope they don't. I hope they keep him until SummerSlam at least, or
Well, the dream match everybody wants is him and Brock. Yeah. Him and Brock, the two MMA guys going at it.
But they fought before, so
not that I remember.
Yeah, I thought they had, but I
don't think so. But other than that, there was nothing memorable on Raw.
Right.
Other than seeing Reginald, for some reason, Vince loves Reginald.
But the only thing with Brock, there's always the fear of
him leaving.
Him getting the belt and then going on like a 6-month
hunting trip
before he goes back on TV or pay-per-view. He
shows up. Brock shows up when Brock wants to show up.
He's Sid Vicious, except he plays with deer guns instead of softball bats like Sid Vicious.
At least he didn't break his ankle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went there. But I want to talk about the next show is because it was a way better show. It was NXT, and I brought notes.
Okay, yeah. Go there because there's a question about one particular match I want to ask you.
Oh, yeah, about the tag title match. It opened up with the winners. William Regal was in the ring. I thought one of the two announcements was the move to Tuesdays.
Right.
It wasn't. It's to talk about the 2-night takeover they're going to have the 2 days before WrestleMania, which we're talked about the main event that's setting up at the end of the show.
Okay.
Then they said because of what happened last week, they now institute a women's tag team title division in NXT as part of the Hunterverse because it's not part of the whole Vince thing now.
Yeah.
And the winners of the Crockett Cup, the Dusty Cup was Dakota Kai, Raquel Gonzalez. They gave the belts right away to them, and right afterwards, Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart demanded a title match, and Regal gave it to him later down on that night. I'm all for that, but I didn't like the results of that.
Well, there's a few things with that. Number one, I thought it made basically NXT look like punks and basically saying, okay, we can't beat the main group, so you know what, girls, I'm going to give you your own belt,
It's the Hunterverse.
It's your, here's the little sister belt, Mm-hmm. My hole in the raccoon has the big belts,
Yeah.
So, but, that's what I didn't like about it, number one. And number two, I agree, why switch it over that quick?
Yeah, again, the bookers are Road Dogg, I think Hunter and Sean, and I think Albert.
Okay.
I forgot Albert's real name. It escapes me. But Kai, and I will say this again, Gonzalez is the star of the show right now. They're building around her.
You think?
Yes.
Is there any indication you think they may be
giving
her a single push?
I'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
Because after the announcement, they had Io Shirai defend against Toni Storm in an excellent match. Fucking 5-star match.
Right.
Because Toni Storm is a worker.
Right.
Io Shirai is a worker.
Mm-hmm.
And it was balls out. They did everything in that match. And Io won with moonsault. Then we get the Pete Dunne promo, which they finally let Pete Dunne, his mumble mouth, British accent, talk. And he says he's the best technical wrestler in NXT. Who's that going to set up a feud with? Because he lost to Finn Balor.
Right.
So he's back down on the card. So I don't know who the upper mid card or main eventer he's going to be facing next.
Yeah.
Then we get the tag title match with Shotzi and Ember beat Dakota and Raquel. And again, great match. Those four are workhorses. I had no complaints about the match, but I agree with you. Shouldn't have switched to that soon. Let it come to TakeOver.
And you devalued the main roster women's belts. Now,
Yeah.
I thought that was one of the fewest cool things that they did. I mean, as far as unifying that belt for all three brands. I mean, it's kind of like reminded me of like NWA going to different territories and having Ric Flair carry the belt and just go to different groups.
Now we're going to have Shotzi and Ember going forward as their tag champs, and as they were walking away, I still remember this. Looking at him was Candice LeRae and Indy Blackwell. So that may be the next contenders for those belts. Because their rematches don't happen in the WWE.
Right. I have a little bit of dream booking with that.
Yeah.
Shotzi and Ember in the tank versus Sandman, Adam Page, and the Dark Order in the lawnmower. Who do you think would win a race?
We'll get to that a little bit later. Oh, that's another thing about... we'll get to that in the Dynamite review.
Yeah.
Because that lawnmower was a tribute to Brody.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it's something about being elite. Then we get to Xia Li against Kate Carter, which they did. I don't know if Casey Catanzaro has it. They said she had a partially torn MCL. I don't know if that's a legit injury because of the match she had with Xia Li the week before. Mm-hmm. They're building Xia to be this unstoppable force right now, and with the Bao. The male Chinese guy they hired, and this mysterious figure sitting on a throne with hair in her face. You don't know who she is. I don't know who this girl is.
Sounds like a cross between Mortal Kombat and The Ring, but
yeah, kind of like that. But I think Caden won. Xia won by disqualification because Casey did a heel thing and hit Xia with the crutch. Mm. And you're supposed to be baby faces. You're hitting him with crutches. That's another confusing thing.
Yeah.
And after that, Jordan Devlin, who is the true cruiserweight champion before the pandemic hit, and he was stuck in Ireland. And then we have Santos Escobar, who won the tournament and unmasked, became a heel, got the faction. Jordan Devlin says the restrictions are done. He's going to be at NXT next week. So he's already calling out Escobar.
Okay, except... I don't know. I have a problem with wrestlers doing that, using the pandemic. It's like, okay, we lost the belt or whatever. It used to be the old days. They used to have the stipulation.
30 days.
30 days. If you had to give the belt up, you lost the damn championship. You're not the champion. It's like this thing with Sami Zayn that they had for a while, you know?
Well, going to New Japan, when the Typhoon kept Moxley from coming to Japan, they stripped him of the title. But when the pandemic happened, when he regained it at Kingdom last year, he sat on home with a belt, and they didn't take it from him, and they could have gave it to somebody in Japan.
Right.
I don't understand that. I didn't know the meaning of that booking whatsoever. Wow. But Escobar and Jordan, probably a good match. I like Jordan Devlin. Mm-hmm. He's been doing NXT UK because of the travel restrictions.
Right.
Next was Team Escobar. I don't know what their faction's called. Phantasmo something. I forgot what it's called. Against the grizzled young veterans.
Yeah.
Imperium was on top of the stage. And turned into a clusterfuck with... Not Imperium. It turned into a clusterfuck with... I thought it was Breezango against the veterans. No. It's MSK in Breezango's astronaut outfits.
Oh, jeez.
And Breezango right behind him doing super kicks on, without the knee slapping, on the veterans. So it looks like we got a common thing between Breezango and the Rascals were dancing at the end of that segment. Then, you talked about Gonzalez. Mm-hmm. Gonzalez is getting her singles push.
Okay.
Because Io called her out.
Ah.
And backstage, got in Gonzalez's face, and that's going to be TakeOver match right there. Io Shirai defending against Raquel Gonzalez, which I say right now, Raquel Gonzalez is going to get that belt. Mm-hmm. Even though I think she needs a little bit more time to cook in the oven, you know?
Yeah.
Because she's still a rookie. What do you think about that? Think about that. Do you think they need more time, or is it the perfect time for her now?
Yeah, it's time for now. What the hell? I mean, she's... I mean, they can write it. I mean, they don't have to switch belts right away or anything, but I mean, they could probably start a program now.
Then we have Balor defending the NXT title. I almost called the X Division title because he has the X on it.
Yeah.
Against Adam Cole, baby.
Yeah.
It furthered during the match towards the end, and you saw the tail end of it.
Yep.
When Kyle O'Reilly showed up.
Yep.
And again, Kyle O'Reilly may have been really hurt again after this. We don't know what's going on with that, from what I'm hearing. But Adam Cole lost to Finn Balor in a fucking great match. I loved it. I loved it. I loved every bit of it. But at the end of the match is what got my attention. What did Finn Balor say in the ring before he turned around?
What took you so long?
What took you so long? And he turned around and it's Karrion Kross. So,
which I thought was clever. And I mean, I get so tired of it. It's like, okay, Balor's not looking, and then, you know, all of a sudden he gets jumped. You know, it's like, okay, whatever, WWE.
We'll talk about that on Smackdown with Big E.
Yeah.
Because that happened. But are you interested in a Finn Balor Karrion Kross match?
I think they've been building up to that anyway. Yeah, sure. I mean, I think Balor likes those kinds of matches. I think he likes the ones where he has to be an underdog against like a Haas.
Kross, even when he was in TNA, I love the gimmick.
Yeah.
I love the personality. Again, not a big fan of the in-ring work.
Yeah.
He's a Saito suplex and a chokeout. That's it.
I don't know. Maybe working with Balor could probably carry it.
Again, it depends on your dance partner. The match he had with Keith Lee last year was incredible. But then again, it's Keith Lee. That's another thing. Where's Keith Lee?
Catering next to Bo Dallas, I guess.
Next to Bo Dallas and Andrade. Was there, since I didn't write notes, was there a Retribution match Monday night last Monday?
I think there was. I think, it
was somebody against Riddle.
Yeah, it was Ali, I think, again. No. Was it Ali or
no,
was
it Slapjack with Shane Thorne. Thorne.
Skipjack, Slapnuts, whatever his name, yeah.
What they are calling for next week's Raw should have been on Fastlane. You're going to have Mustafa Ali versus Riddle for the U.S. title. That should have been on the pay-per-view.
Okay.
I think
they can put it on the pay-per-view. I think I'll probably. That's probably when I'll get my sandwich. You know?
You make a tuna fish sandwich.
I wouldn't eat tuna fish. That match will probably smell like tuna fish, but no.
Overall, NXT was way better than Raw.
That's not saying a lot.
I watched Impact too. How I do Impact is I watch a half hour getting ready for work on the Wednesday morning. I watch the rest of it when I get home. Mm-hmm. Impact, you got more action. Maybe not as good as quality because of the high production values as Raw and WWE, but you had more actions and more action on this and on NXT than you said on 3 hours of Raw.
Yeah. That's
sad.
And I'm kind of more concerned with NXT as far as where you're going to see them. I know they're having an announcement moving to Tuesday. Yeah, I mean, hopefully not permanently though, but that's probably what'll happen.
Well, the first takeover, for what I'm hearing, the Wednesday night one or the Thursday night one.
Yeah, that will be on USA.
USA, but the next one is going to be exclusively on Peacock on the WWE station, which. Again, I'm hearing a lot of problems with the Peacock network.
Oh, yeah. I think we spoke... Did we speak about that last time?
Yeah, I heard, if you go to the search engine, and you even... somebody did a video on Twitter, and they put it on Russell Talk. Somebody did a search engine on Amy Poehler. Nothing came up on Amy Poehler because Parks and Rec, Saturday Night Live, you know?
Right. I mean, that's like saying, put in Jimmy Fallon. No. NBC Nightly News. What? What do you mean you can't find it? It's like...
yeah, their search engine sucks.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about Dynamite?
Yes.
Because I watched that Thursday night.
Dynamite, which should have been called AEW Damage Control.
Yeah, like the Marvel Comics?
Yeah, pretty much.
But it's like... it started off with the Phoenix Jackson match. I know you're not a big fan of Young Bucks. That match was fucking amazing.
Well, I agree because I am a fan of Ray Phoenix.
that man can work with anybody.
Yeah.
He can work with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Was it Phoenix who got the win?
Yeah, because you had the thing with
Not SCU.
No, with Zero.
Yeah, it was Zero. Yeah. Well, no,
Later
with
on.
Pac, that was him and Pac because Zero.
No. It was Zero because he was talking with the Spanish
Yeah.
announce table guy and all that.
And they kept on focusing on the crowd with SCU. So is SCU going to be part of this mix now?
SCU, yeah, because of the tag championship, they're going to go after. That's probably what will happen. They'll go after.
The Bucks or the Death Triangle.
Yeah. Either way, SCU will probably lose, and then you'll see Kazarian and Daniels break up. So I think it's what they're saying.
The next thing is something we both want to talk about is the Kingston Mox promo, where they're in front of a small fireplace, and he's waving his hand over the fire and says, "What did he say? What did he say? That it says doesn't burn, brother. Doesn't burn."
Yeah.
Man can talk. I said this before. Can sell you a car that you don't need.
Pretty much.
He is a promo machine. And what did I show you on Twitter from, was it our fellow podcasters here in Baltimore, the Rough House podcast? If Kingston didn't come out with a blazing promo to do damage control, it would have all been for naught. And what did he do? Come out with a blazing promo as damage control.
Oh, yeah.
Him and Mox. And you said it yourself. It was the off-camera footage of the bomb being made by, Moxley said the bomb being made by Acme.
Yeah. By Acme and Kingston, one of them I think said something that's like, I've seen worse explosions in the fourth grade science fair.
Yeah, and even Moxley said on the promos, just Impact must have paid for the bomb.
Yeah, pretty much.
But what did you think of the promo itself?
Hilarious.
Yeah.
It was,
Is it going to build towards a tag team with Moxley and Kingston now?
It already has, yeah. They said that later on. They're showing them against the
former Impact Tag Team Champion.
Yeah, they're supposed to be feuding. Yeah, it's set up a feud with them later on. So,
and I'm all in. I'm all in because Moxley. We'll talk about the. What is it? Where's it down the page? The Kenny Omega promo later when Kingston showed up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The next thing I want to talk about is the Cody Rhodes versus, was it Lee Evans? Was it the jobber?
Yeah, that was the jobber. But then after that, you had
Penta Jr. just basically in his broken English talking about how you lost the ladder match,
right,
and insulting him and his family.
Yeah, basically he said that I'm going to hurt your arm so badly you won't be able to hold your newborn child.
Baby girl, yeah. And it was almost like a tear apart.
Right.
What got me is what Cody did before the match. He gave his weight belt to a kid with special needs. And the kid in the wheelchair.
Which I kind of have a problem with.
Because of the pandemic?
Exactly. Any other time, that would have been a sweet gesture.
Yeah.
But you had this kid who obviously
has the issues.
Yeah. He's very sick. He looked like he should be like and he might have been like a Make-A-Wish, St. Jude's Children's Hospital kind of thing. Cody's not wearing a mask. This kid, he probably has severely compromised immunities there already. And then you're exposing him to that. It's like, I don't think that was very smart, to be honest with you.
Well, in the last couple of weeks, we haven't seen smart decisions from this company.
He could have very easily done that off camera, or maybe just did a vignette where it's like AEW is given to like Jacksonville Children's Hospital and give it to the little boy then.
Yeah.
But that's just not responsible. That's
it was a quick match with Cody putting killing a jobber. We didn't care.
It was a setup for the promo.
Yeah. Next was the Sting. Where there's a Sting.
Yeah.
And Lance Archer coming out. It looks like we're going to have a Lance Archer Sting feud.
Wait a minute. Say that again. Was Paul Bearer at that thing, or I thought it was Tony Schiavone interviewing him?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't do a Schiavone. I can't do it. But Lance Archer came out and just basically trash talk Sting. Are we going to get a Sting Lance Archer feud?
Probably. And Lance Archer, this is AEW. We talk about crazy old man Vince with WWE and Raw. AEW, some of their booking are head scratchers too. It's like Lance Archer, you had him as a monster, putting people through ceiling tiles, everybody dies. Then all of a sudden he was a babyface for a little bit. Now he's...
This monster heel again.
Now he wants to play with, 800-year-old Sting. I mean, come on.
Well, there's a little payback there. Who manages Lance Archer? Jake Roberts.
Yeah.
Didn't one of the first Halloween Havocs, the spin the wheel make the deal, was Jake Roberts versus Sting?
Yeah, where the
coal
Sting
miners
hit him
club.
in the face,
Yeah. This could be Jake just directing traffic, saying, this guy beat me, he embarrassed me, yada, yada, yada.
And that would totally be within character
Yeah.
with them because they are bringing back nostalgia. Although, I don't know if they can do that since who owns the footage to that match?
Vince.
Right.
They can talk about it, though.
Yeah.
The next was the Ethan Page Lee Johnson match, which we really couldn't hear because of the audio issues.
Right, but it was bonus if you're a fan of wrestling and basketball.
Yeah.
You got the best of both worlds there.
Well, Tony kind of went on Twitter and apologized for the audio issues.
Yeah.
I don't know where they got the basketball footage from because maybe because it's TNT.
Yeah, that's probably what it was.
It was a fuck up with editing. I don't know. Ethan Page, they're building him as a great guy. Don't let him use the Karate Man gimmick. Please don't let him use the Karate Man gimmick.
Oh, he was the same guy from Impact that did that?
Yes.
Oh, no.
When he did the Mortal Kombat farewell match.
Oh, God.
Yes.
Look, Impact, I really don't want to talk crap about you, especially since Monique was so nice with us for that interview, and we do like a lot of the wrestlers there, but this kind of stuff...
Oh, going back to Revolution real quick and Sting, I found out the street fight, the cinematic street fight, that was all Darby Allin's booking.
Yeah.
He's a film school student, and,
right.
and this is out of his brain. And if that's true, bravo.
Yeah.
Bravo.
Yeah, Mr. Cornette kind of wiped his butt with that, but no, I agree with you. Yeah.
Because it's not 1985s and people were doing the rest holds for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Next was the Adam Page promo on the lawnmower. And the lawnmower, as I said, it was a Brody Lee tribute because in one of the Being Elite videos in the back, where the whole throwing the fucking paper and knocking down John Silver all the time, he said, you know what I did when he won the TNT title? You know what I did when I won the money for it? I bought me a lawnmower.
Well, it was funny that they won't let
five
on because of the weight limit.
Yeah.
One thing I did not see in your notes, I had forgotten about it, but you kind of reminded me of it. What do you think of this business with QT Marshall?
Yeah, are they turning him?
I think they're turning him heel because he keeps abandoning Nightmare students. First he did it with Dustin, and then he did it with another
during the casino match.
Yeah,
by the way.
Oh, also okay. Well, yeah, he abandoned. I think Lee was that same match. It was Lee Johnson.
Lee Johnson, yeah.
So
yeah, Lee Johnson and Dustin came. Was it Dustin who came out?
Yep. It
looks like we're going to get a Dustin QT Marshall match probably down the road or at the next at Double or Nothing, which is they announced it May 30th. That's Memorial Day weekend, right?
Yep. Might see something before then.
Yeah, but then we get Christian Cage coming out, and he was supposed to speak. Then all of a sudden, the cleaner girls come out. If you remember that.
Yeah.
With the brooms, and then Kenny comes out, and then we get Don Callis' take on what happened Sunday night. You want to talk about this?
Last episode, we mentioned AEW likes to push the envelope with language, where you had the press conference and MJF calling a reporter turkey tits.
Yeah.
And me saying it's probably the first time I've heard that on mainstream American
wrestling
television.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this was also another first. I never, in a million years, would have imagined a scenario where somebody would have actually mentioned A69 on TNT.
Oh, yeah, I remember that, yeah.
Because basically, folks, what had happened was they were basically saying that it was a win-win situation. If the bomb would have gone off as planned, Moxley would have been dead, and they would have been happy. But the fact that they didn't, and they disappointed so many fans, that makes them even happier.
Yes.
Because they want to be a bunch of trolling dicks.
What caused Kingston to come out? What did Callis say to cause Kingston to come out?
I forget, actually. I remember what Callis said.
I forgot what it said, but Kingston came out, And then Callis basically did a shoot on Kingston because Kingston was in Impact when Callis took over. And Kingston they called him King, and he was managing Santana Ortiz as the new LAX.
Right.
And it says, what do you say in that promo? You're that good, but you're not that good. That's why I had to fire you.
And so as soon as you come to success, you find some way to screw it up.
Yeah, that's why he was the one that had to fire him. I was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Speaking of Callis, and this is the one thing from Impact I forgot to mention. The Moore, at the end of Tuesday night's show, was talking to somebody in his office. Then made the match for the unification for sacrifice between the TNA and the Impact titles. Mm-hmm. And then the Moore made it, oh yeah, the winner of that match gets his face at Rebellion, an actual pay-per-view, Kenny Omega, for unification. Right. They cut to his office again. It's Callis on the phone with Omega, says everything's going according to plan.
Oh, wow.
So the belt collector's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I like how Christian, after the whole beatdown, I like how Kingston just looked at the camera and just decked Omega.
Well, let me explain the 69 comment, too, because basically what happened, they reenacted Kingston. They were basically saying, his heroic act was wasted, and then it was like, Omega pretended to be Moxley, and Callis was on top and said, and this is the part where Kingston was dry humping Moxley, and then you hear Omega say, 69 me, Don. I was like...
Yeah, I was like, what? What?
Alright, yeah, I mean, that's not exactly going to help. Might not help you sell action figures to kids at Walmart.
Yeah. Well, like I said, they push the envelope in this company.
Well, Omega, though, I mean, I don't know. I think he pushed the envelope, and it was probably like, Deerhorn somewhere in Saskatchewan or something.
Did you notice Christian's theme music?
Well, you had told me about this. Supposedly it was the same theme music from Impact.
It was when he was in TNA and as their world champion. It is the same music. I looked it up. It is the same music. It's the same countdown and everything.
Right.
And I was like, okay, they're going to use that, which I kind of like his music.
Okay.
Because right now, the Impact doesn't have good theme music at all. Other than Moose, I think.
Yeah. Well, AEW doesn't really.
There's nothing memorable.
No.
There's nothing memorable.
The Japanese wrestlers have the worst. I mean...
You will see that if you watch those shows.
Yeah. I mean, Sheeta's isn't too bad. It just kind of sounds like a dated anime theme. But, I mean, it's like you hear, like, Riho's theme, it sounds like, I don't know. I imagine, like, Keyboard Cat going crazy. That's what it sounds like.
Right after the Christian... Oh, by the way, and Christian Cage picked up, after that clusterfuck with the Cage thing, picked up the world title belt.
Yeah.
Are they going to give him a title shot right away?
Well, who knows?
But we can't call it Christian anymore. It's Christian Cage.
Yeah.
Next we want to talk about is the 6-woman tag. That was supposed to be Big Girl Rio, Sheeta, and Thunder Rosa.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Against Britt Baker, Nyla Rose, and world's cutest wrestler, Maki Ito, who, by the way, I love her intro. She's got her eyes closed, trying to sing her theme music while everything's going off at the same time.
Now, here's my thing with that match, Chris. Now, I did actually do a little bit of research on Maki Ito. I watched, like, some...
She's got a foul mouth on her.
She does. I mean, yeah. What's up, motherfuckers? It sounds like a character from Dolomite more than a Japanese girl. But,
she keeps on flipping birds to everybody.
Right. But, they explained basically the whole story about she really was an idol singer, and a lot of people don't know what that is. Basically, they have a phenomenon in Japan where they have basically like boy bands, except they're girls in Japan.
J-pop girl bands.
Yeah, and they have like an age limit, it's like when they're 14, they're deemed too old. Well, Maki Ito was one of them, and they actually had a case that actually happened where the only way this promoter would put them on the card is to get her old band to do a concert on there. Ooh. And they got them over, they sold the tickets, but they wound up firing Maki Ito. They screwed her over for real. I mean, it's not a storyline, so...
One of the Yoshi promotions?
Yep.
Probably started.
Yeah, and what she wound up doing, she used that in her character as a heel character. She kept saying whatever she says in Japanese, I'm like the cutest girl or whatever. This is my problem with AEW. They love the smell of their ass so much. They have their head up their ass in their indie bubble. They I mean, they have Excalibur kind of sometimes explaining stuff, but for the most part, they think everybody watching that show knows everything in Indie-rific, and they did a very poor job of that because, I mean...
When she was singing by herself,
When she was singing, and then then everybody else was fighting, and... Okay, that kind of reminded me, I saw a skit similar to that in Kaiju Big Battle, where they had, like, a Japanese girl singing a pop idol song tribute to one of their baby faces there, and then while she's singing with her back turned, the baby face is getting the shit beat out of her. It points out, but what thing I didn't like about Maki Ito, they have to teach these Japanese girls how to punch. I mean, they can kick, but
they can strike with their feet, but not with their hands.
Especially when you have the champion coming out to fight you while you're singing, and she's fighting them off with her microphone. And
yes, I remember that.
And it's one thing if it's like Terry Funk versus Ric Flair in an I Quit match with a microphone, where they can beat the shit out of each other with that, or at least look that way.
Pick!
Yeah.
Pick!
She looked like she was swatting a fly, and Cheetah was selling it. It looked like crap. I mean, Maki Ito, she's more personality, let her do the strikes, but she's another... Cornette has criticized a lot of the Japanese female wrestlers for this, about being too small, too... And I agree with them. If you're going to present them as an athlete, especially since AEW is supposedly the sports-based promotion, it's bullshit! But, you're not going to impress me if you have girls who look like they're 10 years old fighting off Britt Baker, Nyla Rose, adult-sized Serena Deeb, adult-sized women, okay? It's not believable to me. I'm sorry.
But Serena Deeb just had scope surgery on her leg. She's going to be out for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hope she has a speedy recovery.
Yeah, no kidding. They need her there. Yeah. She's put on some excellent matches.
And since she's the current NWA Women's Champion, she will not be at the NWA pay-per-view.
Right.
The next thing was on there, like I said, what did you think? You thought the match was so-so?
Match was so-so, and then it was just more
It's building up
Baker and Thunder Rosa, which I think that's going to be an amazing match.
It was no DQ for next week, right?
Yep.
Okay. Then we had the Matt Hardy backstage promo, which adds to the Matt Hardy promo of Empire of Private Party. Now we got the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny with him. Which was the Kingston family.
Yeah.
Because he needs to make up for his losses that he lost to Adam Page at the pay-per-view.
Right.
Because his first quarter earnings all went to Adam Page.
Yeah, translation, okay, we turned to Kingston, so we gotta have something else to do with you. And it's a shame, I like the Butcher and the Baker.
The Butcher is... I didn't know he played guitar in a metal band.
He does. I forgot what band it was, but is it guitar or bass?
Either that, I don't know, but I didn't know this guy was in a metal band until somebody brought it up to me. I was like...
Bev would know. Yeah. Because it was one of her, burp metal bands that she liked, but anyway. Exactly.
What'd you think of the Matt Hardy promo in the back, without adding on more people, to having his own faction?
It added to his character. It's like, okay, I think I got a turkey and cheese during that, but anyway. Now, I did see it, but that I probably,
just kind of blew it off?
Yeah.
Then we had Darby versus Scorpio's guys. I wonder if Darby Allin's walking during that after that.
That was a damn good match. Yes. A great match.
And Scorpio Sky ate the pinfall and turned heel right afterwards.
Well, you saw that coming. Yeah. You saw that in the ladder match at Revolution. Mm-hmm. You saw the interview on Dynamite before that where he's like saying, well, how do you feel about going against Cody? He said, fuck Cody, so.
Oh, by the way, going back to the ladder match, what was the object of reaching for?
The brass ring.
Was it you said something, or was it Wrestle Talk? It was like a giant golden hemorrhoidal pillow.
Wrestle Talk may have heard. I heard Cornette say something similar to that too, but yeah.
It was the brass ring that Vince McMahon's been holding over everybody's head.
Yep.
Then we get to the what I think was one of the best segments was Jericho, the Inner Circle, and MJF.
Yes. Which
I like. It's like, what did he say before the lights came out when they were coming down on MJF?
He said, well, wait a minute, Chris. I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to take over the team. I was planning one of my own. And then they did the Paul Heyman light switch, and
it was FTR, and it was basically Tully's group, and who else was it?
Shawn Spears.
It was Tully's group, basically.
Yeah.
And Wardlow.
Yeah.
And pull the trigger on Wardlow. The man's fucking phenomenal. Pull the trigger on him.
Oh yeah.
Jake Hager gets knocked out by a little bit of the bubbly.
Yep.
Jericho gets busted open.
Yep, and powerbomb through a table by Wardlow. Yeah.
By Wardlow. Does this mean the Inner Circle is officially baby faces now?
Mm-hmm.
Or are we going to see? And they used the baseball bat.
Yeah.
No, MJF actually tossed the bat away as like a symbol thing.
Yeah. Yeah. You had Santana Ortiz air handcuffed. Sammy Callahan, who
Sammy
Guevara, rather, came out with the video basically outing MJF. He got clobbered with a chair.
This is after he got fired from the Inner Circle by Jericho, by the way.
Yeah.
I thought that was a master stroke.
Yeah.
It was a master stroke. And this is starting to remind me of circa 2007 Ring of Honor, where you have factions all over the place. You have faction wars.
Yeah.
Because you have the Inner Circle. You have whatever MJF's faction is. You get the Matt Hardy faction. You have Death Triangle. The Super Elite.
And I hope they make this a serious war. And as much as I like the football fuckery, what Cornette called the match in the football field, I hope they don't do something dumb like that. I want them to just
have a fucking match, just beat the show, Joe.
Right, exactly.
But overall, what would you give the show?
I would give it. I maybe gave it 3.5 to 4 stars.
Yeah. Even Wrestle Talk gave it 5 out of 5, so, which I didn't think so.
Yeah, I mean, my complaints was the Maki Ito thing, and
he said, the Kingston Mox promo was the icing on the cake for him.
Right. And I don't know, the Callis Omega thing. I mean,
69, 69. I was like, oh god. No,
right. Yeah, it's. Omega, I'm sorry, he doesn't convince me as a heel. He does not his promos are shit. They are.
Well, it was like that. He was very nonchalant promos in New Japan, where he is fluent in Japanese too, by the way. He spent a lot of time in Japan.
Well, yeah, he probably needs it for, sexy time with Rio, but anyway.
Yeah, and remember, his best friend is the current IWGP newly crowned combined belt world champion there.
Yeah.
Is Kota Ibushi. But it's Omega versus Christian, or you see Omega versus Kingston at the next pay-per-view?
Hard to say. Well, no, I mean,
then again, we got.
It'll be Christian. I think it'll be Christian first, because I think they have Kingston and Moxley against the.
No, we got a hiccup before that, a rebellion, because we got him against Rich Swann.
Right. But that won't affect AEW.
Yeah, that's going to be the belt collector.
It's going to be the Good Brothers against Moxley and Kingston before you see anything.
Yeah, and they'll probably go after the AEW tag titles because either Finjuice, by the way, on Impact are using the New Japan logo. They're still promoted as New Japan, not Impact.
Right.
Now, do you want to get to Friday night? And boy, I agree with Chopper from Wrestle Talk when I watched the video. I almost had an aneurysm.
Alright, I mean,
the Edge promo in the beginning was not bad.
Yeah.
But you had Alpha Academy and the Dirty Dogs. Last year, who did Dolph Ziggler feud with? Otis.
Yeah.
Who is he teaming up with this week? Otis.
The same guy that tried to break up the thing with Mandy Rose.
Yeah.
And all. Yeah.
Made no sense against Team Mysterio and, was it Team Street Profits of Mysterio? Which Mysterios are kind of acting heelish now. And they're supposed to be the faces.
Yeah, well.
I don't understand that at all.
I don't care about that one. That'll be my second beer after getting the turkey and cheese sandwich.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And the Rollins promo was pretty good, which we're going to get at Fastlane. Rollins versus Cesaro, which will probably be match of the night.
Yeah.
But afterwards, who got in Rollins' face after that promo?
I forget. Was it Cesaro or was it Murphy?
Nakamura.
Oh, Nakamura, yeah. After
so
that
could be Rollins and Nakamura could be Mania.
Yep.
That could be great. Mm-hmm. That could be fantastic. Then we had, which I put next to it, WTF, the shopping spree.
Yeah.
What the fuck was that?
And Shayna Baszler was probably like every boy that was like 4 years old and dragged to like a clothing store with his mother. You know, she was bored to tears.
Is Nia Jax now a sugar mama?
Yeah. What do you mean was? Oh my god. Yeah.
Is she a sugar mama? Because she actually had... And slapping him on the ass and seeing Shayna Baszler on her phone... Basically, I'll even go one third. She's echoing all of us right now. Going, why the fuck am I here? My God, it was god awful.
Yeah.
Even, I thought, I watched the review on Saturday, which was yesterday. Chopper almost had a fucking aneurysm.
Yeah.
He went off on, I could only imagine what Simon Miller and Russell Culture was doing about that. He was slapping his head so many times silly.
I just hope for Reggie that story is all kayfabe, because if she hurts people in the ring, she might hurt people in other areas too.
He may be walking funny, if not at all.
He won't be doing Cirque du Soleil flips after that. Let's just put it that way. But.
Why? Why were we subjected to this?
Simple.
Vince is high on Reggie?
No, well, okay, he's probably high on something. I don't know about Reggie, but it's just a case of finding wrestlers something to do. Which, hello, Vince, they're women's tag team champions. Why aren't you having them fighting tag teams? Why are you having them in stupid vignettes like the?
We could go on and on how much we love, despise this segment.
Well, it hasn't reached Lana, Bobby Lashley bad, okay? Yeah. But it's heading in that direction, so whatever.
This is where my feed kind of gave up on me because I was watching it through the internet. The Murphy-Cesaro match, which I heard ended in a DQ.
Yeah.
With Rollins with a chair. Is Murphy now a disciple again?
No, I think he attacked both of them.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's more feuding with Cesaro, and he's basically saying, it's like the fact that Cesaro gave Murphy the airplane spin, he said he was mocking him, and all. It's God, I swear to God, it's like, I feel like, I don't want to, I was going to say it feels like, they're letting like kindergartners on the 4-year-old, on the writing team, but I don't want to insult kindergartners. I swear to God, this is just...
Yeah, you could tell Vince was back in charge, and Hunter wasn't there.
Some of this, it kind of reminds me of like parties where I've seen people get stoned and writing this stuff, acting like, oh my God, they came up with like the answers to life, when they're really just writing pot-induced stupid shit. That's what this reminds me of.
Kind of like the Rascals?
Pretty much, yeah.
Next is the Owen Zane backstage. Are we going to see the reuniting of Steen Generico?
Maybe.
Which, they both need each other right now?
They do, but I don't want it to happen. I like Zane being the asshole that he is. And
being the conspiracy theorist?
Yes, that's hilarious.
Well, the film crew is fucking top-notch, by the way. I think that's the best. I will say this, I saw Friday night, he's the best thing that was on the show.
Right.
Then we had the Edge Uso backstage segment where Edge basically ran down Uso's family. Says, I know your brother. I knew everyone in your family, and you're embarrassing your family. Being he called him a follower instead of being on his own. Mm-hmm. Then we had the Kevin Owens show, which we had Bianca and Sasha, which I thought was going to be an all right segment. Then all of a sudden, here comes Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler with Reginald.
Well, they were just doing a typical thing where they were sitting at the commentary.
No, they came out during the Kevin Owens show.
No, but they sat at the table during that, though, and they were watching until they were ready to attack, but yeah.
Then we had Sasha and Bianca versus Tamina and Natty, because they came out during this too, because I don't know why.
Probably number one contender, yeah.
Yeah, and during the entire time, she had Reginald on top of the table, the announcer's table, just modeling things. Why? Why? Why?
Because Vince thinks it's funny.
Again, I was watching this review, and Chopper was having another aneurysm. He was holding his head. I mean, I'm lost for words. I'm totally lost for words over this shit.
Well, I mean, my whole thing only went so far. But basically, no, I want to... Baszler and Nia are supposed to be two mean bitches, okay?
They're killers.
Yeah. Let them go out and kill somebody, you know? Let them beat up all the women and then do what they were doing when Moxley was still with WWE and beat him up, too. Beat up some guys, yeah.
This is the thought just caught in my head. Are they punishing Nia for hurting girls for doing this?
I don't think so. She's getting airtime.
She's getting airtime.
She's not getting buried, you know. No, I don't think
she's not getting put through tables for 8 weeks in a row. And now we get to the Big E segment, which when he came out in the crutch, the neck brace and all that, I was like, oh shit. Then he started tearing that shit off. Like, Big E is a godsend right now.
Yeah.
Then he did an amazing promo on, he was calling out Apollo Crews, and Apollo didn't come out, and then Sami Zayn came. Then he said, okay, we're not going to have Big Apollo, I'm going to show you a elbow challenge. Was it the first person that came out was Nakamura?
No. You're forgetting about Corbin. He was basically saying
Corbin.
He has to take off his gear, but he'll be ready to fight, and then
Sami Zayn's
like, all right, while you're getting undressed, I'm going to go and challenge you. And then Big E was like, all right, look, one of you idiots come to the ring, I'll fight you.
Beat the shit out of you. They're kind of building softly of a Corbin-Zayn feud, maybe.
Yeah.
Because I don't know who's going to be the face in that.
Well, I'm beginning to think if it might be Zayn, if he's going to be palsy-wowsy with Owens. But then again, I don't know. Corbin's been getting screwed over a lot lately, so...
He is the mid-card Vortex.
Yeah.
The Zayn E-match was fun to watch.
Yeah.
It was fun. Then, afterwards, what we talked about earlier, he was still calling out Apollo. He heard Apollo's music. He's looking around.
Mm-hmm.
Apollo still attacks from behind.
Yep.
What?
And Apollo proceeded to leave a moon landing all over Big E, but...
and you kind of notice how Apollo's now speaking with an accent?
Yeah.
He never did before.
Yeah, well, that's because he's the Prince of Nigeria. And
he's the guy we send the money to.
He's the one that asks for the money, yeah. Exactly.
You were going to get Fastlane, probably those two, if not at Mania.
Right.
Now, going into the contract signing, which Roman asked for the head of the table again. So turn the chair around, put it at the head of the table, which was... He is so Godfather mode right now, it's not funny. It's a wonder he didn't have a wire, something in his mouth and saying, I'll make you an offer you can't refuse.
Yeah, he probably did. We've heard him do promos.
Suck on yourself like that. Yeah. And the Daniel Bryan, I thought the promos between the two was great.
Bryan's especially
saying this is maybe my last shot, which he said he has stated publicly that this is his last full run.
Right.
Then he's going to be a part-timer. Probably for special like SummerSlam, Rumble, and Mania.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe Survivor Series. Then comes Edge. And then Uso and Edge get into it again, and because Uso said something about being a special enforcer,
right,
at Fastlane,
mm-hmm.
And then we're going to get
a match
this Friday.
Yeah, to decide who the special enforcer.
First time in 11 years, Edge is going to be in a match.
Yeah,
against Uso. Uso has been gold right now with his matches. He's definitely stepped up his game.
Yeah,
it's going to be a barn burner. I think it's going to be. And
it looks like it'll probably be an Edge heel turn, too.
Really? With Roman being heel?
Yeah, because both him and Daniel Bryan.
We'll see about that at Fastlane.
No, I mean, they had the run in, basically they were...
The running knee, yeah.
Running knee, and then before that, basically, Ed saying he didn't like what Daniel Bryan said, about him and all that other stuff, so... I think eventually he's going to, he's going to turn.
But overall, I give the match. I agree with them. 2 out of 5.
Yeah, that's probably fair. Yeah, I mean it's
2 out of 5 because Sami Zayn was in Big E. That was it, and maybe the contract signing.
And the highlights for the longest time with SmackDown was Roman Reigns, but now, I don't know, to me, a lot of that stuff's getting old about him feeling disrespected. He's sounding like a pussy. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, well, what was it? One of the reviews I saw a couple weeks ago. You're starting to see the chinks in his armor a little bit. When he does get things his way, he raises his voice. He starts losing it. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So we're maybe seeing an unhinged Roman coming up soon.
Right.
But you want to talk about Mr. Mustache next?
Yeah.
You want to talk about this?
Apparently, Mr. Joey Ryan, the folks that people know best for the
Big Flip.
Yeah. He was part of the Speaking Out movement.
Majorly, yes.
And a lot of people, I think, how many, Chris? It was like 18 women that...
as far as I know, I don't know.
Or I might be getting confused with Governor Cuomo in New York. It's 18.
Or even,
but
what's his name? The guy who works for CCW, I forgot his name.
Oh.
He worked for RevPro.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, anyway, supposedly he has been countersuing a lot of these people who've been sending allegations his way. And it got to the point then, a couple weeks ago, there was actually a card somewhere down south. I think it was in Louisville. It was either Louisville or Lexington, somewhere in Kentucky.
And all the proceeds were supposed to help abused and sexually abused women.
Yes. And come to find out, the match was set up through a brown bag ticket account from Bar Wrestling.
Which was Joey Ryan.
And on the poster of this card, which looked like kind of like an typical indie card with a lot of names from the past, you see his name on the poster. Apparently, a lot of the AEW talent that came there didn't know he was going to be there. A lot of other wrestlers didn't know he was going to be there.
And they pulled out right away.
Right. And then I think they just dissolved the card altogether.
I sent you the link of what he wrote on I think it was Instagram. He wrote a book.
Right.
And what did I say in that message? It says, Meadow thinks he protests too much.
Exactly. And I've heard other people online, I think Cornette might have mentioned this, basically he thinks this was all done just for his court case, basically.
Yeah.
Because one of his allegations, he's saying these allegations are false, and they've caused my company to go bankrupt, I can't get any work, and then he tries to organize his card, and he winds up having to cancel it, and he'll be like, see what these liars are doing to me?
Yeah.
You know. And I did not see the comments, but you said that
Punk, apparently he took a swipe at Punk, and Punk came out swinging it back. I forgot what was said, but Ryan basically said something to Punk about, like, you support your business like you supported your best friend in a lawsuit. Basically taking a swipe at Colt Cabana. That now Colt and Punk are no longer friends because they're in a court battle together now. You don't start something with Punk. You don't start something because he will finish it. He will knock you down and finish it.
Right.
Because he is the master at this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, some people have a forked tongue. He has a Swiss Army tongue.
Yes. And it's been quiet the last couple of days. I haven't really gone to Punk's Twitter account. I've gone to Joey Ryan's Twitter account, which he restarted maybe a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
Joey Ryan needs to shut the fuck up. Right now. He needs to shut the fuck up. And don't stir the pot even more. And he's stirring the pot.
Pretty much.
Because that's a shitstorm that's coming his way regardless.
Yeah. It's a fight he can't win, you know.
Especially online, you got so many people who actually know the truth of what's going on and going after him on social media. And Ryan will probably have to shut his Twitter down again.
Right.
Because he's just going to get shit-bombed.
Well, I mean, there's the old saying in Star Wars, let the Wookiee win. Well, yeah. I think it's the opposite of that, because I think Joey Ryan's more of a Wookiee than CM Punk. Yeah. But, you know, I mean, if he wasn't toxic, he would be begging for, Manscaped would be begging him for an endorsement. My goodness. But anyway.
But, He's dead. Was it an old Sam Kinison joke when he said about Jim Baker? Says you'd be surprised at working an overnight job at a window at a Wendy's.
Yeah.
He couldn't even get that.
I don't think he'd be able to get a job as a mopper at a video arcade now. But I mean, it's like
The big top.
exactly, yeah. Yeah, he'll be on the block with Kix doing a music video down the street. But yeah, anyway.
But he's not going to go away. He's going to fight this because he thinks he's in the right.
Yeah.
And you know that, and you know it, and I know it. He's dead in the water.
Right. All right. Well, other news we have going
You
on.
want to talk about Mania in the card?
Yes. With month before the card comes out, Vinnie Mac decides to scrap whatever plans that they had for it.
And usually they're 3 or 4 months ahead. And there's no plan right now. And Vince wants more than the percentage of crowds. He wants 40,000 people there. It ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
Not going to happen. Not with his guidelines. And no matter how much money he pays DeSantis to deem wrestling essential, by the way.
Yeah.
We all know that was a bribe.
But you know what? It's not only helped him, it's helped all companies because, you know, AEW's based there, MLW's based there now. I mean, a lot of companies.
Deem wrestling essential during the height of this?
Yeah.
Really? I know it's a form of entertainment, but really?
Yeah.
Even I had to scratch my head over that one.
Yeah. When there are a lot of other professional sports that were not deemed essential, I mean,
Yeah.
you had Canada not allowing the Toronto Blue Jays to play any games in their own damn stadium.
Well, when Impact was, they're still doing the tapings in Nashville with those no crowd. They couldn't get their Canadian talent down there. They had to do like separate things where the North was tag team champions, and they had to go to like Border City Wrestling or whatever and beat up the local job guys just to keep their tag titles.
Well, of course, I mean, where all these cards are down south. Pretty much that Gulf of Mexico area, that coastline mainly from Texas to the west side of Florida.
Yeah. Which I've been to.
They're anti-maskers, a lot of them.
Yeah.
They don't think... Even though I did watch a promotion recently from Texas, I'll maybe talk about it if we have enough time, or maybe do it next week.
Yeah.
But it's really good, and I have some few ideas I'll talk to you about with them off of the air.
Mission Pro.
Well, not Mission Pro. It was
Okay, tell what you just told me about off air. Yeah.
Yeah, it's called Southwestern Entertainment, and they have a weekly show called Southwestern Entertainment Fury, and
We'll talk about it.
Talk about that more next week. You know, it's a lot to go, but we have some
Mania. The only set in stone matches are the 2 Rumble winners versus the 2 champions right now.
And even that, you know, it's, I don't know.
With Asuka being out with a concussion, we don't know when she'll be back.
It's whatever Vince's happy sleep decides for him, and the match, you know, it's like what
Vince is still ripping up scripts as they're writing them.
I swear, I'm going to be in concussion protocol because I'm going to be like Simon Miller, slapping my head saying, why?
Same as it ever was.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like Brower on Homicide.
Yeah.
Or David Byrne and then, you know, talking at the...
But they're going to allow, from what I'm hearing, 20,000 people spaced out. They're allowing crowds. We don't know if they'll go back to the Thunderdome thing the day after. Or are they? On Raw, because that's usually the best Raw ever, because you had those
Well, they might not be able to go to Thunderdome because their primary tenant, the Tampa Bay Rays, will be playing baseball soon.
Yeah, and well, they've been
They'll probably go back to the Performance Center, which, by the way, props to NXT. I like they're my, as far as presentation of a COVID era ring, I like that the best.
Well, some of the fans at ringside wear masks, and they're in pods, it looks like.
Yeah, in that little cage area, I like that. And then you have the Walmart electronics section over
Which
there.
I'm hearing, those are taped, they're not live, and they're using those from Raw.
Yeah, I would believe that, because they would have to have people coming in, you know.
And you actually hear live crowd sounds instead of piped in like in Raw, Impact, and Smackdown.
Exactly.
And you're actually hearing crowds, actual real crowds on AEW, even though they're I don't know how.
So the real crowds, I think, are in the upper decks. The people up front, they're just the wrestlers on dark that they don't use.
Which you saw something, and I had to look at her. That was Abaddon at ringside. That was.
You think that was her?
That was
Okay.
Abaddon at ringside. Yes.
Yeah.
She had a little bit of face paint on. It looks like, but that was her.
I didn't even think she had face paint. It looked like she just had her hair back. It was like blonde.
There was a redheaded there who had a little bit of face paint on her. I thought that was her.
Yeah.
WrestleMania, it's going to be a 2-night thing. On my old show 2 years ago, we did a live reaction show, which on Facebook, we barely had the sound on.
Yeah.
2 hours into the show, we got struck down on Facebook Live by Vince.
Mm-hmm.
It's clamped down. That show, including pre-show, with matches on there, was 7 hours long.
Yeah.
And that was Becky, Ronda, and Charlotte as the main event that night. I'm not sitting through 7 hours again.
No. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I wanted to ask you about that. WrestleMania this year, they're doing the 2 days, even though
like they did last year.
Right. Now, I mean, part of it may be because of that, they don't want to have a 7 or 8 hour card. But, what else usually happens on WrestleMania weekend?
WrestleCon.
Right. I'm wondering if they're having these Saturday cards to screw with them a little bit.
Well, from what I'm hearing, Con is going on. I don't know what the restrictions are,
right,
with crowd-wise, but Con is going on, and they announced a list of people that are going to be there. Probably mostly ex-WWE guys and guys who are working other promotions. WrestleCon, for those who don't know, is all the indie promoters pulling their money together and having this convention wherever the site WrestleMania is, wherever this host town is, and that's to combat Mania, Access, and Takeover. Basically, that's what it is. And what are Smackdown, Raw, and around that weekend also. And they have indie shows. CZW has shows. Shimmer has shows. It's the only time I'm able to sit down and watch a Shimmer show because they don't have streaming. You
say that 10 times in your tongue.
Shimmer show, because you can't watch anything outside of buying DVDs from them because they don't do streaming. I think they do WNW Live, I think it was, or Fight TV Live, but not everybody can afford that every month. And
and one company that's actually going the opposite way, NWA. Yeah. They pulled off everything off of their YouTube channels, and they're going to have their own streaming service.
Because I was actually talking to cheerleader Melissa again, and she asked me where I watch my stuff at, and she said no problem about it. She promised me she'd keep it quiet and won't let it out because she knows that working poor guys like me can't afford pay-per-view after pay-per-view and all these streaming services. You know,
right?
I actually was looking for the Power Girls thing about what happened after Hannah Kimura. I got pulled also.
Yeah, I know. That was probably when they did those. They had that Carney Land channel. That was probably the best show on there.
Because they couldn't promote shows because of the COVID era.
Yeah, I mean they had a couple of episodes. They had that one, and then they had other girls talk about the Black Lives Matter thing. And
then they get the Shockwave, which until they got shut down.
Yeah, but I mean they had other shows too. They had Eli Drake had his own Howard Stern talk show. That was kind of cool. Nick Aldis was interviewing. I mean they had some interesting stuff on there.
Speaking of Jake, I forgot to. I don't think this was on my NXT notes, but it looks like they're having a feud with him and Bronson Reed.
Yeah.
It was like, whatever. Ground level. You're starting at the ground level and working your way up. We'll see if his finisher. You know what his finisher was called?
What?
It's basically white noise or the air raid crash. They call it the gravy train.
Oh, okay.
And that was his finisher.
Right.
Like I said, you want to get to the next thing at Laredo Pro.
Yeah, we won't spend too much time on these because there is an announcement regarding our business, and not with these guys per se. You had this thing with Enzo and Cass possibly coming back.
And Cass came out as the mystery partner to Hernandez because if you notice the clips you saw, what was on the ring apron?
I didn't see it.
Impact.
Oh, yeah, you told me that.
It was under the Impact banner. It was an indie show under the Impact banner. Some of the Impact guys were used. Does that mean they're coming to Impact?
And it could mean that, and it could also mean they're coming to TNT. Picture in picture. You're going to love it, fans. Yeah.
They're poison. They're still poison.
I don't think Cass is as much as Enzo. Enzo, yeah. Enzo, that guy is just...
He's walking poison.
Yeah.
Cass, I saw... I forgot what interview he did. They showed clips of him. He's clean sober. He looks in phenomenal shape, by the way.
Yeah, and he's... But in the past, he's also had issues with depression, too.
Yeah, and he even mentioned... Was it Chris Van Vliet, or was it a Renee Young's podcast he was on?
I saw him in Chris Van Vliet, actually.
Yeah. I didn't see any reaction online. I don't know if there was reaction online. I remember when they showed up at the Supercard, the G1 Supercard at the Garden, they got trashed. Ring of Honor got trashed.
Yeah.
About it for some just showing up and going after the Briscoes.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, you might see those two in there for this reason too. Do you remember who Enzo had a little Twitter war with about a year ago? A certain Tongan.
Oh no. Oh, when the restrictions come up, do you think that'll be their first target?
I don't know about their first target. He may be among them. He might be in the Bullet Club firing range. Oh, okay.
I don't want to see...
You sound like an exploding barbed wire man.
No, I'm starting to do that lurch thing where he just looks at me. Yeah. I don't want Enzo anywhere near a wrestling card. And that's a legit shoot. I don't want him near... He was a great promo guy in WWE. What did Jericho call those two? It's like those two cartoon dogs.
Well, he's another guy that, okay, I mean...
Good promo guy. Could talk you into anything.
I mean, I would like to see him only for one reason. If he gets a match against Suzuki or Lance Archer or somebody that'll just...
I'll get to that in a second after what I told you today.
That'll bounce them like the sound effects from the TNT NBA broadcast.
Yes.
Okay? All right. One more thing we'll get to before we get to our announcement. You were talking about this Twitter war between Miro and our favorite...
Miro, okay, Cornette called Penelope Ford a slut.
Yeah.
Or a whore or some shit.
Yeah.
And Miro came to her defense, and it started a Miro-Cornette feud, which Cornette says he has something to say about Miro on his next episode of his podcast.
I'm sure he does.
You know it's going to be scorched earth.
Well, he's been talking crap about him before that. He's been basically saying he has a stupid promos.
The video game thing.
Anything with video games, Cornette doesn't like.
Again, it's not 1985, you know?
Yeah. And, I mean, they did have video games back then. In fact, I think I had a Nintendo game, WCW game. I think Midnight Express were on it, but I could be wrong.
But you're in a losing battle, Jim. You're a losing battle right there.
You think so?
I think so.
I don't know. I disagree. I think it's the other way around. I think Cornette will chew him up verbally.
We'll see who comes out the winner on this. We'll see who comes.
Why do you think Cornette will lose?
Miro's on TV. And Miro can make fun of this on TV and make fun of it on his Twitch channel.
He don't give a shit about that, but, I mean, so what?
He has followers, and followers pay money for his Twitch.
Yeah.
And those followers
so you
are
think
vocal.
they'll be like the Twitch army, kind of like Beyonce's detractors, you know?
Yeah, against the Calder Cornette, yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah, real quick before you want to get to the announcement, the thing I sent you today, I watched some of the New Japan Cup, and the funniest goddamn thing I saw this week was Suzuki coming out to his theme music. He's coming out, towel, real serious, against Kenta. You know who Kenta is.
Yeah, of course.
Kenta came out with a crumpled up newspaper in his hand. Looks like he's reading the sports section. He's leaning in the corner just looking through the sports section while Suzuki does his fucking... and when Suzuki's looking at him, he's just like, wait a minute, I gotta see what the box scores are.
Yeah.
And I laughed my ass off.
Mm-hmm.
And when the paper got taken away, Kenta went out of ringside, kept on getting back, and brought back the newspaper, and kept on reading at ringside until Suzuki brought it and put it in the middle of the ring. He says, "Come and get your paper, I'm going to kick your ass." Basically put the line in his sand, says, "Come and kick your ass." Suzuki ate it, go to sleep, and he's out of the New Japan Cup, which...
Really?
Yes.
Oh, man, okay.
Because they're building... No, if you watch this...
Yeah.
watch Shingo Takagi matches. He is a 30-year younger version of Suzuki.
And they have Suzuki jobbing to a fucking t-shirt. Good God. Oh,
Kenta's good. Kenta's very good. He was an NXT champion.
Yeah, but he's not goddamn Suzuki. Come on,
and even I put the Moxley Kenta match from Strong Style in PW New Japan Strong on there, I think, on that flash drive. Yeah. And you get to watch that. It's in English.
Oh, okay.
With Kevin Kelly and I think Alexander Koslov, one after the Hooligans.
Oh, okay.
Which was Rocky Romero and Koslov. Either it was Rocky Romero. Watching you, like you said, most of it's in Japanese, but some of it's in English, and you get to pick apart who you like.
Aye.
Yes, and even with the Japanese, you can do your own color commentary.
Oh yeah. And that is a good transition into what we are going to announce. Folks, look, I'm going to be honest. We do a lot of things that a lot of YouTubers do. We do some things that they don't do. Here's what we don't do. We're not going to bullshit you and tell you that we're experts. We know people in this federation, in this company, and all that. I mean, we have spoken to some, but we're not going to tell you we're experts, and we're not coming at you with that. We are basically giving our observations. We're more third party. We're after the fact. We're not going to predict what's going. I mean, we'll predict what we think as far as just opinions, but
we're two assholes with opinions.
Right? Yeah, pretty much. Everybody's got one of each, but
yes.
Yeah. So there are a lot of things that we do. We're not going to try to invent the wheel. We're just going to try to put our own little custom mags on them. Maybe even put like the little red Hot Wheels stripes on the tires. Okay?
I like those.
Yeah, I do too. Hot Wheels were the shit, especially the track.
Oh, I love those things.
But so here's what we're going to do, folks. We mentioned a little bit about this on a previous episode. We were going to do this with just one match, but instead we're going to do that with 3. We are going to announce the exploding barbed wire popcorn fart. No. Actually, it's going to be...
That would be great if we did that.
Yeah. We're going to have our exploding mystery match watch party, basically. That's what I think we're going to call it.
Yeah.
And we're going to have 3 matches. One match we have announced, and I will announce it to you right now.
Okay.
We have a match. It was from Bar Wrestling, featured Jungle Boy versus David Arquette.
This is the Joey Ryan promotion.
Correct.
Correct.
And originally I thought I would have to go from Dick Flipper's YouTube, but I found another way to get that. So so screw you, Dick Flipper. I hope you go to prison and somebody else gives you a lollipop out of their asshole.
Yeah.
Bitch. Okay. The other 2 are mystery matches.
Mm-hmm.
And what we will do is we will watch these matches. We will premiere the episode, and we will premiere it so you can give live commentary while we give our commentary of these matches. And you can watch what the heck's going on. Another thing, I did not talk to you about this yet, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
We spoke briefly about the You Can't Kill David Arquette.
Mm-hmm.
I bought that movie.
How is it?
Excellent.
Did they show the Nick Gage match on there?
Yes, they did.
Oh, but I watched that thing in its entirety. I'm surprised that man's walking.
Not only Nick Gage, but, I mean, they had some crazy stuff. I mean, it's like Diamond Dallas Page sent him to Mexico to work with some luchadors, and they actually had wrestling matches in the street. They were like the squeegee kids, except instead of squeegeeing your windows, they had wrestling matches during red lights, and then they would come up to your cars.
You're talking about David Arquette. You know Bow Wow's being trained?
Yeah.
Bow Wow's being trained. And you know who else called? And there's a Twitter war between Randy Orton and Soulja Boy.
Oh, yeah. Well, let me get back to why I mentioned this. We're not going to air that movie, folks, but what we are going to do is... You and I are going to watch it, and then we're going to give our own critique. We'll be like Siskel and Egghead, you know?
Yeah, okay.
All right? We'll give our... And like I said, a lot... Yeah. I mean, a lot of people have given their reviews of other wrestling cards, wrestling movies, all that kind of stuff, but that's what I think we may do in a future episode. What do you think of that?
I love it.
Okay.
I'm all for it. Give me more, please.
Stay tuned. I will let you know when the dates of our exploding mystery match watch party and our review of You Can't Kill David Arquette.
I definitely want to see that.
That's coming up. So, alright, so you have anything else to add, or?
Other than I'm going home, I gotta get ready for that thing called a job tomorrow. I really don't want to go back to.
Yeah, you fucking jobber. Alright.
Find me at Christopher James Phillito on Facebook and at C Phillito on Twitter.
Alright. If you want to do that, I think most people really don't give a shit about that, but alright. Anyway, no, I'm just kidding. No, just...
Give me all your heat. I'll take all the criticism.
Right. Follow us on the RGC Media Multimedia YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, do what you have to do, and we'll have some new shows for you, and we'll talk to you next time.
See ya!
Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.